Now, it is July, and for many families out there, they are in a situation where they don't know if their children will have a school place in just 2 months' time.
Joining us to discuss are Holly Walsh, whose son Kristian has been waiting 3 years for a school place, and Rachel Lowry from Equality in Education. Thank you both so much for being here. Holly, it's lovely to have you. Can you tell us what the situation is with Kristian?
So I have a little boy, Kristian, and he will be 7 this September. And for the last 3 years, we've tried really hard to get a school place, and we've just not got it. It's like the biggest competition I've been in my life, and I'm the biggest loser of it, because really for the last 3 years I have actively tried engaging with all those people I have to, and I've never got that secured position for him to go.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Kristian and why there's a problem getting him into a primary school?
So Kristian is a 6-year-old. He's a lovely, happy, intelligent little boy. He's so friendly and loving. He is full of potential, and he's my son, so I could tell you everything about him, you know, but he's genuinely a very lovely little boy. It's not necessarily our problem or his problem that we're not getting into school. It's more the system. There's a complete failure.
But he has
somehow.
Does he have additional needs?
He has additional needs. He is autistic. He has an intellectual disability, and he's non-verbal as well. We are awaiting ADHD assessments because there's been some red flags shown through his childhood. And like that's where the problem comes in. If Kristian had no disability, we probably would not have a fight like this to get into school.
He's your little boy. You love him. I can see it. Rachel?
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's just heartbreaking. Another year here. We did this last year, so I feel every inch of, you know, Kristian and their family and what they're going through. I suppose what's maybe a little bit disappointing about this year is this year we had the Parents Portal for the first time, and what's
the Parents Portal?
So the Parents Portal is how families identify and make themselves known to the NCSE that they will need a place for extra needs, or, you know, whether that be an autism class, a special school, whatever the case may be. That closed on the 1st of October. And due to a lot of pressure and a lot of people missing the deadlines or not having paperwork, they had to reopen the portal under pressure in February. So this is the first time we've ever had numbers from the department. They were released in April, and we were given the number of 7,860 families made themselves known to the NCSE. There was 5,500 spaces available at the time, leaving the grand total of 2,386 children without a school place as of April this year.
Wow.
And we haven't had an update since. Now, there has been announcements of classes, autism classes since, but it's not enough.
In terms of your local area and schools that would be available to Kristian, like, I'm sure you've exhausted all routes.
Yes.
I mean, how far have you gone in terms to trying to find somewhere with a place for
25 kilometres from my home is how far I've gone to look, and I've applied to these schools, some within 40 kilometres. My local school is 1.3 kilometres away.
And what would they say?
It's just, when I get the letter back to basically say it's a school refusal, it's down to oversubscription. So that means that too many children actually applied for that position, and they might have only had 1 or 2 spots available.
And that's every school, you're getting the same reply in schools up to 25 kilometres away from where you live?
Yeah.
In Dublin
They're all
city
oversubscription.
centre? Or Dublin City?
Yeah.
Wow.
So day to day, when Kristian should be in school, he's not. He's at home. He's at home.
Yeah.
And every child has a right to an education within this state.
Yeah.
Rachel, there's a lot of talk about the overrun in the education budget, 650 million. An awful lot of that was spent in order to build special schools that we can look at the needs of children with additional needs.
Yeah.
Clearly hasn't gone far enough.
No, and I believe it's kind of, we need more pre-planning. Like, there is data there if they're willing to look, like the dementia children that are coming through on assessment of need. The government's own figures will tell you 1/3 of them will walk away with some sort of diagnosis. So there's data there. There's families applying for the likes of domiciliary care allowance. There could be data picked up from that to plan better going ahead in the future. But it just doesn't seem to be, none of the departments seem to be working together. to solve this.
From Kristian's point of view, like he has 3 siblings. Is it your youngest, Kate, who's going to start
Yeah, so
junior
she's
infants?
5 at the end of the month, and she's starting junior infants.
How difficult is he aware that she's starting junior? Like he's not getting the opportunity to go to school.
So for the last 2 years, Kristian has sat and watched his other 2 siblings go to the same preschool he went to. And every day we go and collect him, and he still wants to go inside. He's very aware of what the world has for him, what's to offer.
Because he went to nursery, didn't he?
He went to
and loved
nursery,
it.
and he absolutely loved it, and he really thrived in nursery. He enjoyed all the same routines, the structures, the people. He made friends. He made relationships with other adults.
Do you feel he's regressing, not having
Yeah,
that?
so I've watched him regress like for a very long time now, where before he could stay for 2 minutes and engage in activities or just play along, parallel playing with other children. He's very isolated. He's on his own now. He has a lot of anxiety. Just some days he doesn't want to go out of the house. And that's because he had nowhere to go. There was no opportunity
taxing on
given.
you as well.
Yeah. So I've been at home with Kristian. And even though we're still doing the school run, it's just he doesn't have the bag or the uniform or the coat.
And he knows
And
all of that.
he knows.
Of course he does.
He has a little learning journal at home, and he would sit and watch that and look at his past memories, basically. And when I say to Kristian, would you like to go to school? He just smiles. Because he knows, and I'm putting so much emphasis now on the end of August for my daughter. Are you looking forward to big school?
Yeah.
And it's hard because my heart is in 2 places.
Because the thing is, we're talking about a situation, Rachel, where we need to have children engaged in schools, excited about going to school. We're looking at dropout rates of like children as young as 12 and 13 now, dropping out in certain schools around the country. So it's important for Holly to be like, this is an amazing thing.
It is.
But for your children to see, but why isn't he going to school?
They've asked me. My children have asked me when we finish preschool, do we just stay at home now like Kristian?
Whenever you're talking 2,800 children starting next year will not have a school place.
Yeah.
What are the government? Has there been any response with this? Because as you said, Maureen, every child deserves an education and deserves to go to school.
Yeah.
And to think that there's over 2,500 children are not going to get that chance.
Yeah, and I mean, those are figures from April. So we actually don't have an updated figure going into the summer as to how many children actually don't, because yes, they've sanctioned classes since that announcement, but they also reopened the portal in February due to pressure. So, and those figures are only from when the portal closed on the 1st of October last year.
Can I just say, like, whenever we're talking about the overspend in education, nearly €1 billion.
Yeah.
Where is the money going then? Because you're obviously looking at this and the frustration.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There has to be questions asked about how productive this money has been.
Exactly. Like, it just seems to be firefighting and they're not getting anywhere. So, I mean, like, we kind of have to look at as well, yes, we want access to schools, and yes, we need equality for school places, but the equity of those places as well. Are they meeting the needs? Why are there so many children without their appropriate placement?
So the Department of Education says special education provision has increased by 86% since 2020, almost 1,000 new special classes, 9 new special schools sanctioned, that's just sanctioned, not built, over the last 2 years. I know parents and the community fundraise for a neurodivergent school in Enniscorthy that people have just been talking about recently. So, Rachel, you're all about equality in education, equity being there. It's not happening quick enough for an awful lot of children who are going to age out of this system, right?
100%, yeah.
Are we doing this in the right way? Because I know there's a lot of talk about mainstreaming, but also special schools, what we need to be doing for children. What's right here? Should we just be getting kids into a school place regardless?
No, it has to be the appropriate
Has to be the right one.
It has to be the right, because otherwise children are going to into burnout. It's more stress on the parents, it's more stress on teachers, school system. So, it has to be the appropriate place.
Listen, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. We wish you all the best with Kristian going forward, and little Katie going to junior infants as well. So exciting, but as you say, your heart is in 2 places at the minute. We hope with the money that's been pumped into this system that something does start to work, because you can see an 86% is huge, but just not enough. So Rachel Lowry from Equality in Education in Dublin, and Holly Walsh, thank you so much.